Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Star Wars The Clone Wars 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today, finally, we're taking a look at my favorite clone of all time, Captain Rex, specifically in his Phase 2 armor. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. I have included the link down in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans, an awesome reward system, and this guy got all the way from Hong Kong to Australia in 2 days. That's incredibly fast shipping. What we are going to do now, though, is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here, of course, we have the box art for Captain Rex. Right up here on the front of the box, we've got an awesome image of Rex in an iconic pose, and yes, that is the figure himself. We have this banner that they sometimes use and sometimes don't, showcasing another image of him, this time without his helmet on, and one more on the side. On the back, you do have all of the relevant legal information. Now, on the inside, we have an absolutely gorgeous shot of Rex in mid-flight with his macro binoculars and his little torch pegged in on the side. Now, there's something pretty cool about those two pieces, and we'll discuss that in the accessories segment. Now, I am very curious how he's going to compare to the Sideshow version. I know some people will automatically dismiss the Sideshow one, but don't forget that was the very last Clone Trooper they released, I'm pretty sure in 2016, so it's not all that old. It might just be more comparable than you may think. But here we have the Hot Toys Captain Rex. First in-hand impressions are, wow, this feels like a sturdy boy, unlike the Clone Troopers that we've been used to from Sideshow. Nevertheless, I'm really impressed at first glance. Now, we do have one tray, so what we're going to do now is get all of Captain Rex's accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all of the parts and pieces that go with Captain Rex. Now, starting off with the display base first, it's a very familiar sight at this point. It's the exact same one that we got with the Coruscant Guards and also the 501st Troopers, and that works perfectly fine with me. I like uniformity in the same line. We do have some Venator style flooring up the top, and then a metal Captain Rex nameplate on the front there. Now, being a character that does come with a jetpack, you get the requisite dynamic flight pole. This is one of the longer ones, so you can have him in some pretty high-flying poses. To secure him, you have a spring-loaded waist clamp. Now, we may as well talk about the jetpack. Am I the only one who didn't know that Captain Rex's jetpack was supposed to be this color? I don't think so, because Sideshow also apparently didn't know. Here is the jetpack that comes with the Sideshow Phase 2 Captain Rex. The design is almost identical, the Hot Toys one is slightly smaller, but the paint applications are vastly different. This one does have a little bit of that charcoal coloring, but the Hot Toys one went all out and just pretty much painted the entire thing in this charcoal color. Now, comparing it to the regular 501st jetpack, again, it's exactly the same sculpt-wise, but the paint applications are unique. I love all of the scratching and the weathering and the dirt and grime down in the crevices. And yes, you can still remove that rocket, plus there's a little bit of dirt and grime around the edges. Now, to go along with the jetpack, you get these blast effects. They simply peg in the bottom, which is no easy feat to accomplish, but once you have them in there, they're a pretty convincing effect of the jetpack in use. They're a darker orange translucent plastic towards the top, and they slowly get to a nice translucent yellow towards the bottom. I really do like those blast effects. I am tempted to use them in the display. Now, being a clone trooper, he has to come with some clone blasters, the first of which is the regular clone blaster carbine. The debate rages on as to whether this is a single point little bipod piece or whether it's supposed to be a stock that swings back. Either way, I don't think we're ever going to solve that, but it's painted very nicely. The sculpt is identical to the other Hot Toys clones, and I do love the paint applications. It's got this very subtle dry brush of silver on the high points to bring out a little bit more detail. He also, being Captain Rex, comes with his 2 blaster pistols. These are stunning as well. The same exact style of paint applications as the bigger boy there, but they're just slightly smaller. And those, of course, can be stored in his holsters. Now, he also comes with some interchangeable pieces for his helmet. The first of which is this set of macro binoculars. They are fairly simple in their construction, but they are nicely painted and weathered. Now, in order to attach them to the helmet, we'll use this 3/32 bucket as an example piece. First of all, it's the exact same one we got with the 501st. So if you happen to just get another regular 501st Trooper, well, you do have another 3/32 helmet that you can now pop on him. But the way you attach it is a little bit ingenious. These little earpieces do pop out. And the best part is that they pop out on the regular 501st Trooper as well. So if you do want your normal blue 501st helmets to have the macro binoculars on there from Captain Rex, you can totally do that and have a little bit more variety on the shelf. But basically you use this included little wedge tool and you push out the ears, which, by the way, is no easy feat to do, but when you push it out, you do have some little holes on the side. You do have 2 options for what you're going to do next. You can install the macro binoculars with or without the little torch piece that comes included in this set here. I personally prefer to go without, but basically you slide this over the top, you lock it into the holes, then you can either bring in this torch piece and peg it in or not. Now it is keyed, so it only goes in one way, as you can see right there. Now the optimal way of doing this is then taking this earpiece and pushing it back into place, locking everything in nice and securely. So yes, in my display, some of my 501st Troopers will definitely be wearing these macro binoculars. I have to find a way to pick up a few more. It just creates a little bit more variety, and I love the way they look. They also function as you'd expect. You can push them up and down, and yes, they are compatible with the actual Captain Rex helmet. You will see that a little bit later in the video. But yeah, that is a really cool look. Now, for the comparison that I'm pretty sure y'all have been dying to see, here is the Hot Toys Captain Rex head sculpt, and here is the one that came with the Sideshow version. Honestly, I never really hated the one on the right here, but there is a very clear difference in sculpt, in paint applications, and also in the way they've done the hair. Sideshow actually made it a separate piece, so you can see a significant gap between the face and the hair itself, whereas the Hot Toys one is all nice and seamless. I much prefer this one. Now, for those wondering what it looks like compared to Commander Cody, the base face sculpt is exactly the same, minus the scarring on Cody here, and the hair, of course, is significantly different. But overall, they are meant to be the same person, so I'm not mad that they've reused most of the sculpt. Now, in terms of the skin texture and paint applications, obviously, it's Hot Toys in 2021. They've done an amazing job, specifically on the hair. It looks really darn good, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very happy with that particular head sculpt. Now, you do also get the usual array of clone hands. This time, though, you have the tally marks on the back of that palm armor, and they are all unique for either side, so you will have a different print with a little bit more of a wonky effect on this side as compared to that one right there, but either way, from left and right side, they are unique from one another. What we are going to do now, though, is get Captain Rex himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that, and oh boy, he looks awesome. There is a reason Captain Rex is my favorite clone trooper of all time, and we'll get into that throughout the course of the video, but let me just say this. This figure does him justice. The sculpt of the armor, the paint applications, even the articulation, it all just works. Plus, I'm already loving the accessories. That unhelmeted head sculpt is worth the price of admission here. If you're a fan of Clone Wars, if you're a fan of Captain Rex, don't wait, go ahead and get this guy before he's sold out, and then you simply can't. What we are going to do now though is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal. And oh boy, there is a reason why Captain Rex is my favorite clone trooper of all time. His armor is just badass. I'm super impressed with the sculpt, with the paint applications, and the way this entire thing works. Now you may be thinking, Justin, what are you talking about? We've seen Hot Toys clones. Yes, we totally have, but they've done some unique stuff here, specifically for the Pauldron. There's a magnet on his ammo pouch, and it literally just snaps into place. I love that. It's super simple. I don't know why, just magnets on figures make me so very happy. I just love the way it snaps into place. Now the Pauldron is also fixed. That means you won't be able to remove it. For those wanting to do some custom work, that's unfortunate. But for me, it's not flopping around, so posing should be much more of an easy task compared to the Sideshow one, which you'll see a comparison with a little bit later in the video. As for the jetpack, it works in the exact same way as the 501st Troopers. It magnetizes in place, it's super sturdy and secure. Now, for the helmet, we do have a moving rangefinder. This is the first Hot Toys clone with a moving rangefinder, but it's simple. It gets the job done. It's nice and sturdy as well. It's not flopping all around the place, which once again, I'm very happy about. You will also see the macro binoculars and the torch on the body in just a second. Now, speaking of the body, I love the armor. It's a very similar sculpt to the other clones, except this time we do have the weld marks. They do have a little bit of a blue tinge in there, some orange, and a chrome silver over the top, just to set them off, and it works. Looks like the armor has been properly welded together. Now, one thing that threw me off originally was the green tint to the armor. I haven't incorrectly set my white balance. This is actually how it looks in person. It has a subtle green tint to it. Depending on how you feel about that, that may influence your decision to pick up this figure, but apparently it is accurate to the animation. He did have a slightly green tint. Now, there are also a bunch of tally marks dotted all around the place, just like we saw on the Sideshow version of Captain Rex. Now, he does have his signature holsters down here on his sides. Unfortunately, they are a little bit loosey-goosey, and we will address that a little bit later in the video, but they don't sit nice and firmly in place. The Sideshow one had them actually glued down, so you didn't have that issue. I do, however, love the material of his Karma. It's a nice, soft, light fabric. There's no creasing, no stressing. This is definitely the way to do it. And also, just so you're aware, if you haven't seen any of the other Hot Toys clones, yes, the fabric undersuit is still present. There's no pleather whatsoever here. Now, coming down to the legs, we have a little bit of an asymmetrical design with different tally marks on either side. They're equally as weathered with that slightly green tint, and it gets very, very heavy down here towards the feet. On the underside, they for some reason are a little bit more clean, but overall, yes, I'm very happy with Captain Rex. Now, I did save the helmet for last because it is the pièce de résistance. It's quintessential Captain Rex. I love the visor, it's suitably glossy, he does have those little pieces on the sides that have been pegged in, the weld marks are present, and of course he does have the tally marks all around the top of his dome. But I'm pretty sure you'll want to see him with the macro binoculars, so here we have it. Now, this isn't, for me, the quintessential Captain Rex look. It's interesting, it looks cool, maybe if you had a second one you could use this in your display, but for me it kind of just doesn't scream iconic Captain Rex, so I'll be going without these two pieces. I'll just give them to another clone in the display. Now, you still retain all of the functionality, including the moving rangefinder, so you could technically bring them both down if you wanted to, but there's no denying it. There is variety here, and it's a really cool and interesting display option. Now, for those wondering what the unhelmeted head sculpt looks like on the body, Oh yes, this is definitely in the running for being the final display option in the collection. I am loving the way this looks. It fits perfectly, there's even a sculpted in Adam's apple on the neck so it looks like an actual person in the suit. Some people have said these clone heads sit up a little bit too high, but to me, when you look at him from a distance, it all looks very proportionate. Now you can of course futz around with the armor to get it to sit the way you want, but overall, I've been very happy with these head sculpts, and this one might just be the best to date. I mean, I know we've only gotten Commander Cody so far, but we are also getting Jango Fett. I still reckon this one might be their strongest. Now, yes, technically it's not show accurate, but if you wanted to, you could do this. Again, I know, not show accurate whatsoever, but for those curious, yes, you can use the 332nd helmet on this body or any of the other bodies. It is an actual, fully workable helmet with a ball joint receptacle on the inside. It pegs straight in, and it works like a champ. So yes, for those curious, this totally works. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the Hot Toys Rex on the left and the Sideshow version on the right. Now don't worry, this right here is just an amuse-bouche. We will be doing a proper main course close-up comparison in just a second. Overall though, they are very, very similar. The paint applications on the Hot Toys one is they're just straight up better. There's no two ways about it. I like the tally marks better, I like the weld lines better, and I do like just the overall battle damaged effect. The Sideshow one is slightly more heavy-handed with those big, thick, black squiggly lines all over the place. I mean, yes, it works at a distance in the display, but close up it doesn't really mesh well. Also, the body they've chosen is significantly more bulky, and the neck is slightly shorter. That will come into play when we try and use the Hot Toys Captain Rex unhelmeted head sculpt. Overall though, I mean, they both accomplish the same thing at the end of the day in the display. They are a Phase 2 Captain Rex, but if you want the best version out of these two, I personally would go for Hot Toys. While we impatiently await for the arrival of Clone Wars Anakin, here we have the Revenge of the Sith version, and technically he was wearing this outfit in Season 7 anyway, but then again Rex was spending more time with Ahsoka than Anakin. These two just work though. I'll be having them together in my display for now. They are pretty much the exact same height. I was under the impression Anakin was supposed to be ever so slightly taller, but still, it doesn't faze me. I'm not going to not display them together just because they're the same height. Do let me know who you're going to pose your Rex with down in the comments below. Next up, here we have Commander Cody and Rex, and these two look awesome standing side by side. Now, Rex is ever so slightly taller than Cody, and I think that's down to the design of the helmet, because if you remember, Rex welded together a Phase 1 and Phase 2 helmet. The Phase 1 buckets were ever so slightly taller and narrower, versus Cody's, which is a little bit more squat and ever so slightly wider. You can very clearly see the difference here in person, and I think on camera as well, and it translates to a little bit more height on Rex. Does that bother me? No, not really, just because I know it's down to the helmet design. Overall, the underlying body is exactly the same. 95% of the armor, again, it's identical. It's just that minor difference in the design that's making him slightly taller. Now, while it's not quite as many as the 55,000 501st clones that Jedha Patrol has, here we have my two 332nd figures behind Captain Rex, and these three look awesome. I'm pretty sure if I don't go with Anakin in the display, this is how I'm going to display either this Captain Rex or the Sideshow one, just because being flanked by either the 501st or 332nd, it looks so darn cool. When it comes to clones, yes, the more the merrier, so I am tempted to go ahead and pick up just a few more to fill out the display, because having more clones will definitely make Captain Rex pop even more. And lastly, before we move on, here we have my favorite Sideshow clones in the collection, and it's of course Echo and Fives in their ARC Trooper armor. Now I know, people gave me a lot of flack when I said the previous Rex figure had ARC Trooper-like armor. I know he's not an ARC Trooper, but the design is very, very similar. You've got the rangefinder, you've got the pauldron, you've got the pistol holsters, and you also have the Karma, so you can see where I was coming from. What I meant to say is that they work perfectly side by side. These three make an awesome setup. Unfortunately, they are very, very hard to find and very pricey, so I am hoping that Hot Toys, if they're watching, go ahead and make some ARC Troopers, because they will be an awesome addition to your Clone Wars line. Now for a much closer up comparison, here we have the Hot Toys version on the left and the Sideshow one on the right. Now, to be totally honest with you, if it wasn't for the overly floppy, loose, hard to work with body on the Sideshow Rex, I would say that he's a pretty worthy alternative. However, he does have a really floppy body and it's very hard to work with, so the Hot Toys one automatically gets the win. The armor sculpt is very similar, but the Sideshow one is slightly wider and bulkier. Some people have actually said that they prefer the proportions on the Sideshow clones. I totally get it, it's more heroic, it looks a little bit more muscular, whereas the Hot Toys ones actually look like the clones that we saw in the films. They look way more realistic and proportionate to an actual person. These are a little bit more stylized, but I totally get that some people do prefer that. There is one significant difference though, and it's the style of material on the skirts here. This is more of a pleathery style neoprene, where the Hot Toys one is just straight stretchy fabric. I much prefer the Hot Toys one. The Sideshow version I have seen cracking for some people. The rest of the armor though is fairly similar, save for the big black gashes on the front of the Sideshow figure. I'm not exactly sure what they were going for. That's kind of the style of battle damage that they used on their clones. I personally would recommend going for the Hot Toys one, but if you have the Sideshow Captain Rex and you want to switch out the body, then yeah, that could totally work in the display. Now for those wondering, yes, technically, if you did a little bit of custom mod work, you could install the unhelmeted Captain Rex head sculpt on the Sideshow body. That's what I personally plan to do for my display, so I'm gonna have to sort out a little bit of a longer neck. I may just go right ahead and swap the body like I was recommending, because that would solve a bunch of my issues. Plus, this head sculpt should then become compatible with this figure. Just going over articulation on Captain Rex. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I'm willing to go. Now, starting off with the helmet, there's a ball joint at the base of the actual helmet itself up on the inside there, and one at the base of the neck. So going forward, pretty significant. Going back, not as much due to the bulky nature of the helmet itself. Left and right, and a little bit of pivot. It will, of course, collide with the pauldron. The arms will go up the full way. They will go forward and back, and unfortunately, because this piece is fixed, it does prohibit a little bit of motion. You do have a butterfly joint forward and back at the shoulder, swivel at the bicep, a double bend at the elbow, but it only gets you 290, and a regular 1/6 scale style wrist peg. Now the torso armor is segmented into multiple pieces, so you do get a little bit more range crunching forward, back, swivel, and pivot side to side. The legs will go forward on super sturdy ratchets to there, but I'm pleased to report they did eliminate the ratchets going out, so no worries, they're on friction joints going the full way, swivel at the upper thigh, soft ratchets for a double bend at the knee, and of course a ball joint down here for the ankle. Just going over the 3 cool and 3 annoying things with Hot Toys Captain Rex. The first annoying thing is the sloppiness of the paint applications on his pauldron here. Now the outer section is supposed to be black, and these pads are the only pieces that are supposed to be blue. But as you can see on mine, there is a ton of sloppy blue paintwork on the outside piece. I will be contacting Toys Wonderland to see if I can organize some kind of replacement or fix for it, because to be honest, that looks really rough, and not up to par with what Hot Toys would usually give us. The second annoying thing is that Hot Toys didn't do the red soles to Captain Rex's shoes. I'm pretty sure that is animation accurate and it's supposed to be there. I mean, the Sideshow one very clearly did it, but as you can see on the left, Hot Toys just didn't. The third annoying thing is that the holsters aren't actually attached to his Karma down below. They kind of just float around and have a mind of their own in terms of your posing. They decide where they're going to go, which is a little bit frustrating. Also, there's no wire in the skirt/Karma itself, so you can't get it billowing off to the side in the wind as if he's just standing there. It always drapes straight down, which to me is perfectly fine, but I know some people would have really loved to have a wire in this bottom piece. The first cool thing with Captain Rex has to do with the pauldron once again. I know the paint applications are sloppy, but I do like that they locked it down in place. I mean, the Sideshow one moves around all over the place, it's really hard to work with, it's very cumbersome, where the Hot Toys one is nice and secure, it's not going anywhere, so posing is far easier. The second cool thing is the ingenuity with how these pieces work, and that they are backwards compatible with your previous clones. It's not often that Hot Toys will give us pieces with other characters that also just happen to work with the previous figures, but I'm glad that they've done that here. I love having clones in the display, but let's be honest, they sometimes can look a little bit boring, so when you can have pieces like the torch and the macro binoculars that come with another figure that are backwards compatible, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities in terms of variety on your shelf. The third cool thing is actually split in two. The first part is the magnetic attachment for his ammo clips up the top. Super straightforward. If you wanted to, you could even remove them and there's no pegs or gaps or anything like that. The second part is the material choice for his Karma. It's just a straight, stretchy material, versus the Sideshow one, which is this rubberized pleather, which on my ARC Troopers is actually starting to crack. So this guy, fingers crossed, should be perfectly fine to stand the test of time, because nothing on here really looks like it's going to degrade. Just wrapping up on the Hot Toys Captain Rex. Now, going into this, I was really excited, and I think for good reason. Hot Toys have established themselves at this point as great cloners. They made the awesome Commander Cody, they started off with a bang, they followed up with the equally fantastic 501st Troopers, and very recently we got the Coruscant Guards. They've been getting better and better each time, changing the paint process, innovating just a little bit with the body, until this guy, the culmination of their hard work. I personally think, and yes, I could potentially be biased because Rex is my favorite clone, I think that this is the best one that they've done to date. The paint applications are a little bit more advanced. I like the subtle green tint to the armor. It's supposedly animation accurate, but it also helps differentiate this guy visually from the rest of the clones in your display. He will stand out, which is what you want for Captain Rex. He also comes with awesome accessories. 3 different options for the head. You've got the unhelmeted head sculpt, the Captain Rex bucket, and then the 332nd one. And you can interchange the torch and the macro binoculars. It's all very modular. You also have the awesome effect pieces, you got his jetpack, and all of the usual suspects when it comes to the weapons. So for me, this guy just ticks all the boxes that I had laid out for my wants list for a Hot Toys Captain Rex. I'm super happy that he's finally out, he's here, he's in the display, and he definitely does the character justice. Now, if you are looking to get him, he is available from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is down in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and an awesome reward system. While you're down there, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Going to be very happy.